Stories of Great Christians. From its radio studios in Chicago, the Moody Bible Institute greets its friends everywhere with Chapter 15 in the transcribed story of Florence Nightingale, the Lady with the Lamb. While fighting the Crimean War, the British soldiers spent a terrible winter on the cold, windy heights above Sebastopol. Exhausted and half naked, the men began to sicken in great numbers, were sent by the shipload to Scutari. The hospitals there were soon filled to overflowing. There seemed to be no space left for even another man. Lord Raglan, commander-in-chief of the forces, sent word that 500 more would soon be on their way. Florence Nightingale talked the problem over with a staff surgeon. Dr. McGregor suggested that a damaged wing might be rebuilt to receive these soldiers. McGregor approved the suggestion and kindly offered to back it up, but he gave Florence no hope of achieving her goal. Determined to keep trying, however, Florence had a talk with Dr. Menzies, the chief medical officer.
Your idea is wholly admirable, Miss Nightingale, but I can do nothing at all about building or rebuilding anything. It's simply not my duty.
But in emergencies of this kind, regulations sometimes have to be, supplemented, don't they?
I have no authority to supplement them in that way. We're in a bad situation, but what can I do about it?
Well, isn't there someone you could appeal to for necessary authority?
Oh, I could communicate with the Director General in London. He could move the Horse Guards. The Horse Guards could refer the matter to the Ordnance, and the Ordnance could then approach the Treasury. And after that, in due course, with plenty of signing and countersigning...
The soldiers would have arrived and died, and we should have buried them before word got back to proceed with the wing.
Exactly. As you see, my hands are tied.
But suppose I could arrange to have the expense taken care of
No. This would be no small expense. It's a very great matter to repair the wing of the hospital. Why, it contains 2 big wards and 2 wide corridors.
So I observed. And by squeezing, I should think we could accommodate more than 800 men there.
Probably.
And for lack of authority, we're going to leave the place empty?
I'll confess that seems a pity, but I cannot take the responsibility. I'm sorry, Miss Nightingale, but I just don't have the authority.
Unable to move Dr. Menzies, I next visited Major Sillery. I found him quite willing to admit the need, but like Dr. Menzies, he was overworked and fearful. And the answer he gave me was much the same as the one I had just heard.
It's too large a project for me to authorize, ma'am, but it's very intelligent of you to propose it. And I appreciate the fact that Dr. McGregor also urges its acceptance. But really, I can't go ahead on it. I'm in no position to take the responsibility for this sort of thing, and besides...
Still, in spite of these setbacks, I couldn't escape the conviction that the wing must be rebuilt. I prayed for wisdom, and presently, as Selina Bracebridge and I were talking...
Flo, some of these nurses are gems. Mrs. Roberts, for instance. She's so reliable and skillful, too. I heard a doctor say she could dress wounds better than some of the assistant surgeons. And that's saying a lot. Flo, you're not listening to me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Selina. I just stopped for a moment to listen to a voice of inspiration.
And what did the voice say?
It said, Lord Stratford.
Oh, if you ask me, that wasn't much. That pompous old fellow is hardly worth thinking about at all.
However, he is the British ambassador, Selina, and has been for years and years.
Then why doesn't he wake up and start taking a little interest in the British Army, dying over here in these miserable hospitals, almost within sight of his palace windows?
Oh, I'll admit he's vain and lazy. And I've had no respect for him since I heard that he kept his courtiers up till all hours reading bad poems to them that he himself had composed.
But why should you think about him just now?
Because, Selina, he's the one man who has authority.
Of course he has authority. He's the ambassador.
And he has blanket instructions to supply anything the army needs. The Times or private funds will be used to reimburse him. Mr. Herbert told me so himself.
Well, I guess we don't doubt his authority, but what good does it do us?
Simply that he could authorize the building of that wing, Selina.
Oh, so that's what you're getting at. It looks like he could. Do you think he will? Are you going to write to him?
Yes, I'm going to write to him. And believe me, it's going to sound to his ears like a persistent bell. Oh, Selina, pray that it will help to get things done. My letter got unexpected results. A note not from Lord, but from Lady Stratford. I was more disturbed than pleased, actually. I'd had dealings with Lady Stratford before. I had once asked her to get me some strong wagons for moving supplies, and she'd sent me a number of glittering hired coaches instead. When I had to pay the drivers out of my own pocket, I didn't much appreciate this lark of the ambassadress. Her note said that I was to arrange a meeting for her with Major Sillery, as she'd be coming over to talk to him at 3 o'clock.
Major Sillery, what's all this talk about the wing that needs rebuilding?
Well, Miss Nightingale explained to your husband, I believe, Lady Stratford, that there are 500 sick coming in from Balaclava, and no place to put them.
Well, obviously the wing's got to be repaired. Then I don't see why there's any delay.
We're quite ready to go ahead with it, if we can get proper authorization. Anyone can see that it would greatly facilitate things here.
Well, then what's to stop you from hurrying in and getting on with the thing?
Your word can be considered official instruction. I mean, you do represent your husband in this, don't you?
Of course I do. Why do you think I'm here?
I beg your pardon, ma'am. I didn't mean to...
Well, yes, by all means. Tear those nasty old burned timbers out of the place and build it up all nice and new.
Did your husband say specifically anything about hiring workmen?
Oh, just go ahead and get however many you need. How many do you think that will be?
Oh, I'd say about 125. From your husband's remarks, would you say that that's a great enough number?
125. Splendid. And have them begin at once. I understand from Miss Nightingale that the matter is quite urgent.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you. I'll see to hiring the men tomorrow.
Good. Then it's all settled. I know Lord Stratford will be so pleased.
In a day or two, I joyfully observed that the work was underway. The hammering was music in my ears as I went about my daily tasks. Then one day, at an odd hour of the morning, the sound suddenly ceased. I hurried over to the wing where the repair had been going on and found the workmen departing. What's going on here? Where are you going?
Them Turks don't understand a word you're saying, Miss Nightingale.
But why are they leaving you? They look angry. What's the matter?
They think they're being cheated. They say the wages is too low and they won't work no longer.
I wrote frantically to Lord Stratford, begging him to placate or replace the men and to see that the work would be continued. In due course, his answer came back. Selina knew I was eager to get it and brought it to me in the wards as soon as it arrived.
Oh, there you are, Flo. Lord Stratford's letter.
Well, I wonder what he has to say about the wing. Let's see. My honored friend, your worthy letter, blah, blah, blah. I'm skipping the compliments and bouquets. They don't mean anything anyway. Oh, here we are.
I'm so curious.
I am completely unable to understand your allusions to work that I sponsored in regard to a wing of the hospital in need of repair. This is something entirely new to me, and I can take no responsibility for it whatever. Kindly inform Major Sillery that he will have to proceed as he began on his own initiative.
Florence, how ghastly. How could the dreadful fellow say such a thing after sending his wife
here
to
put... There's a postscript here. My wife is rather unwell these days and begs to be excused from any further labors in behalf of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the end of that.
What are you going to do now? Flo, it looks like you'll just have to give it up.
No, Selina. I'm not going to give it up.
But Major Sillery will never do anything now.
I'm not going to ask him.
I don't understand. What do you mean?
This is a case where nobody wants to take any responsibility. Nobody, that is, except me. And I'm more than willing, Selina.
You mean you're going to go ahead and get the wing rebuilt on your own?
That's exactly what I mean. After all, I have nothing to lose.
Oh, you're so brave. You make me envious.
Brave or foolhardy, I don't know which. But tomorrow I'm going to get another batch of workmen. And instead of hiring 125, I'm going to get 200. And there'll be no more strikes. That wing's going to be rebuilt within a week. Just wait and see. The next day, Mr. Bracebridge and an interpreter accompanied me into town where we were able to hire the necessary number of workmen. Once again, the work got underway, and it was already nearing successful completion when another problem of a completely different character arose. Is Mr. Bracebridge at the office?
I think he went in there, ma'am. Just saw him a minute ago.
I need to have a little talk with him. He's going up to Constantinople this afternoon.
Florence! I say, Florence! Is there anything to be added to this list?
Well, that's just what I wanted to talk to you about.
Oh, it's a good thing Constantinople's a big marketplace. Even so, I don't know whether I can get all these things.
Oh, do try anyway, won't you?
Oh, of course, you know I will.
One other item that I want to put on there is a lamp.
A lamp?
Yes, it's for me. These candles sputter and flicker so. Oh. And at night when I make the final inspection of the wards, I can hardly see. I need a good lamp so that I can see the patients better.
All right. Here at the bottom, one good lamp for Florence.
Oh, there you are, Flo. I've been hunting all over for you.
Well, you come and I go. I have to run along. Goodbye, my dear. Goodbye, Florence.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye and blessings on you for the help you've given me. Selina, what's that in your hand? Couldn't be mail, could it?
That's what it is. There's a whole stack for you. I heard from Liz Herbert.
Why, what's the matter? Is she sick?
No, everyone's well. No sickness.
But something bad has happened. I can see it in your face.
I don't know whether you'd say it's bad. Very queer, anyway. Liz says they're sending out another party of 46 nurses.
46 nurses? Coming here to Scutari?
That's right.
Oh, no, Selina, you must have read it wrong, dear.
That's what I thought, too. So I read it 3 times to be sure. Flo, they're coming. And according to what she said, they're due to arrive any time now.
But they can't. Who's sending them?
Sidney Herbert.
But Sidney Herbert told me very plainly that he wouldn't send another nurse until I asked for her. Why, he even printed information to that effect in the Times. Selina, to whom are these nurses to report?
To Dr. Cumming.
That's what I thought. To Dr. Cumming, not to me. They knew I wouldn't want them. Selina, we just can't take them in here. They'll have to go to some other hospital or home. That's all there is to it.
And so we conclude Chapter 15 in the transcribed story of Florence Nightingale, The Lady with the Lamp. This is another in the series of Stories of Great Christians, which come to you from the radio studios of the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago.